Hi guys! Today's video is going to be kind of weird and kind of simple. So I'm going to take this really boring pen and I'm going to be writing on these sticky notes, and what I'm going to be writing is some British words and phrases. So I'm basing this mainly on the difference between Britain and America, because that's a culture that I'm super obsessed with and I really love it. And I just think it's really funny how we use the same word in different contexts sometimes, or we will use a word and in America you won't necessarily know what we mean by it. So I'm trying to in no way be condescending. I'm just trying to have a little bit of fun and tell you some words that I use on a regular basis, and how I use them or how I hear them being used. So I'm going to start with this word. Oh, thanks. This word, alright. And obviously you use this word to maybe mean like, are you alright? Is everything alright? But here, especially in Essex where I live right now, it's used as a greeting by most people. So instead of being like hi or hello, people, if they know each other pretty well, or even if they don't, will say, alright? So it's kind of like a question, but it just means hi. So if you maybe answer the phone, or if you bump into somebody on the street, they'll usually be like, you alright? Hey, you alright? So that's my first one, just a regular greeting. Okay, next up, I'm gonna use this word. So, this word, knackered, it basically means tired or out of energy. So we'll be like, oh my god, I'm so knackered. And I don't know for sure that all of these words are necessarily completely 100% British. They're probably used loads of places, but they're just words that I find I hear a lot around, and I don't really hear them in any American TV shows or documentaries or anything like that. So that's our second word, is knackered. Totally knackered from walking around all day. Word number 3. Chuffed, which means super happy. So if you're chuffed about something, like maybe your team has just won at a sport, you'll be like, oh my god, I'm so chuffed. There's a really, really regularly used one which I don't really hear anywhere else. So this means happy, very happy. Like if you get a new job. And on the other side of that, we have gutted, which means the opposite of chuffed. It means super, super sad. So exactly the same way, if your team lost, you would be gutted. I'm absolutely gutted that happened. I don't know where it originates from, but there's one that I use all the time. Well, not that I'm like a negative person, but I just use it if I appear to be upset about something. And also I'm going to add to this one, one that I used to use used when I lived in South Wales, which is miffed. And I don't think it's quite as bad as gutted, but if you're a little bit put out about something, if you're like, that's not good, that's not great, you would be a little bit miffed about it. But I only seemed to hear this when I was living in Wales. I didn't really hear this once I'd moved to England, so just adding a little bonus for you there. Okay. Next up, we have the word cheers. Not as in clinking your glasses together, not, making a toast, but we use this to mean thank you. So if anyone passes you something, you'd be like, oh, cheers, mate. It makes me sound really strange, but yeah, we say cheers as thank you. Cheers for that. This is such a funny video, I'm sorry. This just came to me and I just thought to kind of break it up a little bit from all of the Disney stuff. Okay, so where were we? Okay, I'm gonna give you another double. So the first word is to skive, which basically means to bunk off school or work. So if you're to skive off work, it just means you're basically skipping a day and like not telling anyone the reason for it. But when I lived in Wales, we used to say mitch. So we used to be like, hey, are you gonna mitch off school? And that was what we used to say. And then when I came here, I was like, oh, what is skive? I didn't know what it was. And no one had heard of mitch, so I kind of introduced people to that. So that's what it means to bunk off, to, take a cheeky day. Right. I have quite a few of these. I wrote them all down. I didn't think I would use them all, but I actually might. I'm nearly halfway through. So next we have nicked, which means stole. As I said, these are probably used like elsewhere, and probably some of these you guys use, but I just haven't necessarily heard them. So nicked is like stolen, so I could say like I nicked it from work, and it means I picked it up and took it home. Which I do not do, because I just don't do that unless it's a pen. So yeah, nicked. What do we have next? So this one is very much used where I live, which is in Essex. Not just for like being cheeky, but if you're gonna do something that's, when you kind of say, oh, it's rude not to, or like I'm gonna go and, it's hard to explain, so let me give you an example. So if you're going to eat, you could say, I'm gonna have a cheeky Nando's. Which basically means like, I'm gonna get this food, and it's kind of like off the cuff kind of thing. It's really hard to explain, but we use it a lot to be like, oh, I'm gonna have a little cheeky glass of wine, or something like that. Just means you're kind of doing it because you can, and why not kind of thing. I didn't explain that one too good, but that's that. So where were we? Cheeky. Right, the next one is kind of a curse word, but not really. Like, it's really used. So bloody. So not meaning covered in blood, but meaning like very, I guess. So for example, this week it has been bloody boiling. So hot. So we use it to mean like crazy, like a lot, and it's very used, or you know, we do use it as a curse word as well, but it's kind of more allowed to be used, not really offensively. So that's a word that we use quite a lot. Bloody. Like bloody brilliant. I've done that one upside down. Oops. Okay. The next word, again, I am just kind of winging it with these. I don't know if they're as uncommon as I think, but we have rubbish, and this is either used for the word that you guys use as garbage, so like take the rubbish out, or we just use it like, oh, I feel so rubbish, like I've had such a rubbish couple of days, just meaning like bad. But maybe you guys use that too, I'm not 100% sure. But yeah, so rubbish. I think we're just over halfway through now. Are you bored yet? Okay. The next one is again very relevant to where I live right now. And this word is mate. I cannot tell you. So basically it just means friend or person. So you're like, oh hey mate, how's it going, mate? But I used to not really hear it when I lived in Wales, and then when I came here, people who I didn't know would call me mate. And I didn't understand. I was like, I'm not your mate. And also I felt like it was a little bit of a masculine term. So I would be on the phone to a patient and they'd be like, oh, cheers mate, and I was like, what is going on? But everybody calls everybody mate, or like buddy. Cheers buddy. But yeah, I don't love being called mate, but I guess it's kind of similar. Like some people say darling, like, oh cheers darling. So it's kind of along the same lines, and you could put these two together, as they quite often are, and be like, alright mate, how's it going? So that is another one. I'm gonna try and not disturb the cat. Okay. Next up is bagsy, which basically means like shotgun or dibs. So we'd be like bagsy front seat or bagsy this room, and that's literally that. I don't use this, I don't think I've ever used it actually, but maybe that's because I just take whatever's left at the end. But it's definitely well used very frequently. So bagsy. We have a few more left. And you probably all know this one already, so I'm sorry if it seems like I'm patronising you, but this one is brolly, and it is just a shortened version of umbrella. So most people you don't really hear people say, do you have your umbrella? Or where is your umbrella? They're just like, I'm just gonna grab my brolly. Which obviously when I say that sounds kind of Australian, but yeah, so brolly is umbrella, which I don't really use, but that's because I live in the place that has the least amount of rainfall in the UK, so we don't really get rain too much. But coming from South Wales, I definitely know what a brolly is. I'm gonna have to start like stacking these. Again, this next one is completely specific to the region that I live in, and London as well, and that is in it. So I never ever used this until I moved here, and I tried to resist it as much as I can, because I just, you'd kind of say, oh, it's that, isn't it? But some people say in it. Even sometimes as a reply. So if someone says, oh my god, it's so hot outside, the other person will go, I know, innit? So that, it's kind of got a couple of meanings, I guess, but it's definitely a like slang kind of abbreviated, not very good word to use. And I've only used it like once in front of one of my friends, and I got ribbed for it ever since. So never again. I'm gonna actually put that not in the center. I don't think it deserves a center spot. I'm gonna put it like down here somewhere. Okay, we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 left. Okay, so next up is chocker. Which actually, if you've ever seen Final Space on Netflix, it's what Mooncake says. It's like chocker. But this is a shortened word for chock-a-block, which means full up. But not in the way of like a liquid, more like if a car park has no spaces, you'd be like, oh, don't go in there, mate, it's chocker. And that's how I speak when I'm like at work, because all of the girls at work are so like Essex accent. It's hard to keep my normal accent, especially when I'm on the phone to patients. So I kind of go into that Essexy kind of twang. So yeah, chocker means too full. Like maybe you're at a nightclub or something like that. You could use it. Okay, next is budge up, which simply means move over, or like scoot. You know when you scoot over? That's exactly what it means. Budge up, move out of the way. I want to sit where you're sitting. I can hear one of my cats meowing. Binks can hear it too. It's okay, Binks. Okay, 3 more. This is obviously a word that is used commonly everywhere, so lovely. But I feel like we use this in Britain all of the time. Like, oh my god, that's lovely. What a lovely dress. I'm gonna have a lovely cup of tea. Whereas in America, from what I've humbly seen on TV, it's only really used in like old timey stuff, like, oh, that is quite lovely. Do you know what I mean? Like, it's not a modern, it's kind of gone out with the times, I think, in the US. But in Britain, we use lovely all of the time. I most definitely do. Everything is lovely. Especially a cup of tea. But it can have a centre spot. Okay, we have 2 left, guys. I can't believe you've lasted this long or skipped to this part of the video, which is more likely. So, we have faff. This means to kind of, let me use it in a sentence. So, if you're faffing around, it means you're like not doing things quick enough. You're either dawdling or procrastinating, or if you're putting on your coat and someone's waiting for you to go and they're like, stop faffing around, why do you need to faff? And it's kind of like you're taking a long time to do something and doing unnecessarily unnecessary steps along the way. That is, or sometimes you can say if you're trying to do something fiddly and you get your hand stuck, you can be like, oh, I'm in such a faff. You could kind of say that. I don't really use this too often, but I didn't want to leave it off the list because it is used. And last but not least, I'm going to give you a bonus from Wales. Actually, they're 2 words and they don't mean anything remotely the same, but I'm putting them on the same paper. So the first one we have is kiffed. And when I moved to England and I used the word kiffed as I had done all of my 20 years of life up until that point, nobody knew what I was talking about. So kiffed means either not straight, like wonky, or lopsided, or if something's kiffed, it's just not quite right. So if the curtains aren't hanging properly or they're all caught up, you'd say oh, those curtains are really kiffed. Or don't be so kiffed, if you're doing something not correctly. But again, nobody here that I knew had heard it, so it kind of faded from my vocabulary. And the same with lush. So everybody where I came from in Wales would say, oh my god, that's so lush, meaning nice. And here it's just not used, it's just the brand of the bath bomb company. So no one really says that things are lush anymore, which is sad. And then whenever I visit some of my family in Wales, I hear some of these words and I'm like, wow. So that's about it. I hope that this hasn't been too much of a strange video. I just thought it was a kind of fun idea to explain some words and, let you guys know what kind of words I use on a regular basis. Let me know in the comments, if you can, what words you use that aren't really recognised in other parts of the world, or if I've missed any that you think should have had a mention, because I'm sure there's so many. But I hope you've enjoyed it. I'll see you soon. Bye.